Chapter 8 The Archaeology Witch. As the first step in showing gratitude, breakfast was in order. Artifact would have made something more extravagant, but Alouette's grumbling stomach wouldn't wait. Before long, they prepared rice porridge topped with toasted shrimp and seaweed, plus a fluffy omelet made by Guillot. He washed the dishes, while the other two dug in. Alouette took a polite first bite and a hearty second. "It's even better than Perry's cooking. I wish I could have helped." Worry dimmed her expression as her thoughts returned to her immobile dog. Artifact passed an extra shrimp from his bowl to hers. "We can sort out the complicated stuff later. The only thing you should be doing on an empty stomach is eating or awaiting surgery." The quip coaxed a little laugh from Alouette and a probably concerned look from Guillot. Walking down the halls from the kitchen, Artifact showed them to the guest room, where 2 beds, a nightstand between them, and a desk furnished the space. Another door led to the ensuite bathroom. "It's a good thing you two appeared when you did. I was about to turn this into a storage closet." Artifact half-joked before showing them his own storage closet-esque room. "This building is my territory. If you need help, just call. I'll be able to hear from anywhere in the world." Next on the tour, they descended to the archives on the 2nd floor. Warm, dim lamps decorated the lacquered columns of systematic wooden shelves. Half of them were for books. The other half, a lattice of unlabeled drawers. A papery scent filled the dry air as the histories of every object intertwined and echoed nostalgia and calling. Alouette wondered if something here waited for her, too. Guillot carried Alouette with one arm under her legs and her back against his breastplate. This way, she could sit up while he kept one hand free for whatever else. After testing out the arrangement, she held up his notebook for him to write in. "Are you okay? Let me know if you feel sore." "I'm perfectly fine. Thanks, Guillot." On the bright side, she could reattach her leg at will and hobble on it. Did the leaf that Euclid had her swallow actually help? She made a sour face and fixed it before the other two noticed. Speaking of which, Euclid mentioned knowing of both Artifact and Guillot. Careful not to reveal his name, she brought the topic up by asking if they knew someone. Even after receiving a description, Guillot couldn't quite remember. In contrast, Artifact didn't have to hear anything else but the single word. "Ah, him. We spoke once or twice." He knew who she was talking about, and she understood what he meant. Such was a witch's intuition. In the same way that animals sense diseases and impending natural disasters, witches held an incomprehensible affinity with the world and each other. This innate ability could be honed but not learned. "With rare exceptions," Artifact lectured. With a snap of the fingers, a book wiggled out of the shelves and flew into his hands. Its pages flipped on their own, scrolling to the desired chapter. "I wasn't born a witch. My powers came when the gods took pity on me." "There are gods?" Or something content with being called so. He handed Alouette the book for them to read. "Be gentle, it's the original manuscript." A Treatise on Creation, year 98,703, by Archaeology the 12th. Forward. With every generation of witches, we stretch further from our cloudy origins. I seek to create a record of what once was, why, and how. My conclusions are an educated measure, a string of what may be a fragment of the truth. Centuries of gathering folklore, relics, and the ramblings of madmen have been distilled through the filter of my judgment. I challenge the identity of the gods in our world. Statistics. In the current year, 60% of religious humans pray to a singular almighty God. This being is referred to as God. The other 40% subscribe to polytheism, oft with arrays of colorful, shape-shifting gods who rule over areas such as the sun, agriculture, and oceans, even grains of rice and pebbles. In contrast, witchkind and people do not believe in gods. If they use the word, it is for simplification's sake. To 70% of people, and virtually all of witchkind, creation is the ultimate. Creation mythology. Our world began from nothing, but something shaped it 100,000 years ago. This is known as the creation witch. It molded space, time, and the laws of our reality. It created primordial witches who ruled over the sun, sea, humans, animals, and others, anything with a name. That was the end of creation's hand. It left us afterward, as was its nature. Creation had no interest in being a part of the stage, only making them. Thus, our world was left to the whimsies of the primordial witches. For 90,000 years, these witches ran amok with power. No other life forms, including humans, could defy them. And yet now, no traces of such omnipotent witches exist. We have no myths as to what became of them. The tales die in their prologue. Our civilization. Although our kind existed at the beginning along with the gods, records of our civilization proper date back to a mere 10,000 years ago. The encroaching jaws of time have consumed older histories. With the abrupt disparity of information between pre- and post-90,000, it feels as if this data has been censored. Hauntingly, mentions of primordial witches and gods peter out at the same time. Folk tales of our genetic ancestors replace myths of the divine. What happened 10,000 years ago that allowed our kind to gain footing in this world? Regarding my reluctance to specify the meaning of our kind. Fundamental differences exist between witches and humans, and yet they do not. Witches can be born from humans, humans from witches. Which kind deludes themselves into calling their humans people? However, creation does not distinguish between these three groups. All are mankind, equally entertaining, ugly, and foolish. Rumors say creation occasionally peeks in to see the state of the world, but in the form of a person, animal, or even an object. If anyone sees creation's true form, they will go insane. Its identity is the greatest mystery. However, of these I am certain. Creation made all that we see and sense, including dominions. Creation is no god. It accepts the title, but seeks no worship. It is not remotely one of our kind. Conclusion. This controversial manuscript and my own body may very well be burned. However, I would not be worthy of Archaeology's title if I were to cower. My research and its conclusions must be stated. The human singular god and the creation witch are the same. As for polytheistic cultures, their gods are equivalent to the tyrannical, primordial witches of yore. The title god was the sea witch, the land god was the earth witch, etc. Worldwide myths have always had stories of shape-shifting deities. It is all too similar to a fundamental capability of witches, the potential to erode the husk of man and meld into their dominions. As aforementioned, current-era folklore has significantly reduced the presence of gods in their stories. However, they commonly contain themes of mankind incurring the wrath of the forest, heavens, storms, and more. It is as if these elements are conscious, as if they're people. Could the first witches have become elements of their dominion? If so, then the question plagues me. What is the sun? Is the orb in the sky that nurtures life itself a witch? Afterward. Finding information on the primordial witches proved to be an impossible undertaking. All efforts to trace dominions back to their origins lead to twisting dead ends. The sole unexplored lead is the clandestine Winter Province. However, my confidant there has gone missing. Buried in the snow near his cabin, I found a torn note in his handwriting. They said he is the most fearsome of the primordial. Never walk into the blizzard, even when promised that you will emerge unscathed. It's a trick, a witch's captivating lie. You'll never return. Alouette and Guillot had no idea what to say. Before an existential crisis hit them, Artifact's joke anchored them to reality. You're speechless, right? After all, who would want to be the god of pebbles? He's been going on about the same thing for years. The atmosphere sobered as Artifact held his monocle and grimaced. Her friend was never found, and the author herself disappeared shortly after. The current Archaeology Witch is the 33rd. I won the Artifact Dominion from them and became Artifact the 11th. Alouette took an apprehensive look at the 4,000-year-old tome. If you're always dealing with stuff like this, it's no wonder you didn't bat an eyelash with us. Artifact blinked before giving his signature gentle smile. Think nothing of it. There's no time to hesitate when you all need me. Meanwhile, Doll's hand had been caressing the front and back covers of the manuscript. As their heart-to-heart distracted them, his joints released razor-thin strings into the leather binding. Alouette gasped. You! How could you? He told us to be gentle! She gave the book back to Artifact and flicked Doll hard in the palm. Like a scolded pet, the hand froze and collapsed in dramatic submission. Guyo patted Alouette's shoulder. Hold on. Artifact thumbed the leather. There's something in here. A paper-thin unevenness that Doll's deft fingers had noticed. Artifact's monocle whirred and shifted lenses as he peeled back a layer of binding. Hidden underneath the cover was a single bloody page. Panicked words, hasty, overlapping letters made up zigzagging diagonal sentences. Archaeology the 12th hadn't been looking at the paper when writing. Something had stolen her attention. There is someone outside. I am looking down from the 5th floor. It is me. The me on the ground is smiling up at me. It is smiling at me as I write. I cannot keep my eyes open forever. When I blink, I know she will disappear and approach. Decades ago, I had surgery on my heart. A mechanical apparatus has been in my chest ever since. But hers is on the opposite side, serving no heart. A mirror image. A doppelganger. I nailed my eyelids down to stop myself from blinking, but that thing opened the gates and unlocked all my doors as if this were their territory. It is walking up the stairs. I can hear every step like my own heartbeat. It walks like me. I hear its voice. My voice. These ruins, my home for centuries, tell me to run. The relics on my shelves tremble in fear. Something more ancient than them approaches. I am afraid I cannot escape. It knocks on my door. I'm afraid. Fear ran down Alouette's spine. Noticing her shiver, Guyo held on tighter before stepping away. Even Artifact looked disturbed. I'm sorry you had to see this. He analyzed the tome and paper with his monocle some more before shaking his head. Guyo picked up his pen and wrote to him. Humans say those who see a doppelganger die shortly after. Witches believe the same. I suppose we have some things in common after all. At some point, speculation and coincidences become signs. Artifact led them away from the archives, but on the way out, something called to Alouette. It was not the deathly stench that she had acclimated to. Warmth, nostalgia, something that Alouette should never let go of, even if she were to stop being herself one day. Her eye darted over all the surrounding unmarked cubbies. Pointing the way, she had Guyo stop at the end of a specific corridor. Artifact, what's in this? He paused, taken aback. Among the thousands of identical shelves, Alouette had been drawn to that one. How ironic. Another coincidence turned into a sign. With a shallow breath, he answered, It contains items from Olivera's grave. The peace switch. Guyo flinched, whereas Alouette tilted her head. For someone with amnesia, the title must have sounded pleasant. In reality, hers was a name that struck dread in all witches. Olivera was the traitor to witchkind, the girl who served human domina and effortlessly debilitated the prodigious Autumn Witch. She was the origin of anti-witch minds. Olivera was the cause of the war-torn, ghostly valley. She was the means by which thousands of witches were killed, including Euclid, the impetus for the war that consumed Guio's future. A ringing gut feeling wouldn't leave Alouette. She didn't know if she should say it. Go ahead, Artifact reassured her. What is it? Alouette gulped and clung to the sleeve of her shirt. I think there's something on the shelf that belongs to me. She wanted to disappear into a hole for saying something so outrageous, and shrinking into Guio's arms was the next best thing. The men exchanged looks. Figuring it couldn't hurt, Artifact pulled open the drawer. Its bronze handle glimmered as an enchanted lock came undone, recognizing his touch. On cushions of velvet rested several objects, but Alouette had no interest in Oliveira's iconic items, like her twin swords, laurel, or collar brooch. Instead, leaving her speechless and unresponsive was a fixation on one particular item, a silver pendant. Artifact had to hold up Guio's notebook for him. How did you get these? Are you sure they're the Peace Witches? Grave robbers tried to pawn them off to me. What an insult. I didn't pay a single note, of course, the scholar boasted, alluding to some less academic, more violent persuasion methods. Also, I would bet my name on it. I'm Artifact for a reason. He could test if the pendant belonged to Alouette or not. This item doesn't have a voice. We'll have to get the information manually. The Dominion mark in Artifact's left eye began to glow. Any witch would be able to tell that it was in the shape of a knife, not a cross, plus sign, or even a sword. A tragic knife. I am Artifact the 11th, holding dominion over the ancient. One day, all objects in this world will pass from mankind's frail, fleeting hands to mine. Golden dust danced through his eyes to his fingertips and into the relic. Its silver face and sheen glimmered with memories of loving hands, passing it from one person to another. Peace, hatred, and glory will all be lost in the sands of time, but I shall never forget. Tell me, is she the one you've been waiting to be reunited with? The words were beautiful, like a poem, Guio thought. Like the songs that his mother would hum when she thought no one, including him, was around. When the light died down, Artifact smiled and folded the pendant's chain. Yes, this is all yours. But he froze just before placing it in Alouette's hands. Something tapped at the back of his mind. Was this girl really the right person? No, of course she was. He had never made a mistake before. Shaking the feeling off, he handed over the pendant. As for Alouette, receiving it gave her the strangest feeling. Ever since awakening in the dollhouse, she often felt that her own body wasn't hers. But the moment her fingers closed around the locket, they refused to let go. Nostalgic warmth rekindled in her heart. That's right. It's a locket, not a pendant. My locket. She unbolted its hidden hinge on her first try. The keepsake clicked and slid open. Inside was a sepia photograph of a homely boy with dark hair and a pale complexion. He looked into the camera with a stilted but warm smile. To the side was his elegant, precocious handwriting. My dear Alouette, may we always be together. At the bottom of the image were shadows and smudges that didn't belong to him. Artifact glanced at Doll's hand. The locket and photo are 300 years old as well. It looks like he's holding hands with someone. Chances are, this is one half of a matching set. Alouette's gaze had softened upon laying eyes on the boy. At the same time, disturbance ghosted over her features. How could that be? The others wondered what was wrong. He looks like Perry.